When Cornwallis came down, an eagle flew right over all of us.
Tonight, going, gone. His bounty on Mi'kmaq scalps will keep him in the history books, but his statue will no longer stand on unceded Mi'kmaq territory.
We want to protect our identity. We want to protect our culture.
Reclamation. A Quebec First Nation moves to regain control over their children's care.
Connecting here to the feathers, we're going to include water, because a lot of our stories now and a lot of what we're fighting for is for healthy water.
And indigenizing their institution. Some Ottawa college students work to forefront their culture. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rick Harp. We begin tonight's broadcast in Battleford, Saskatchewan, where day 2 of the Gerald Stanley trial took place. Stanley is accused of second-degree murder in the death of Colton Bushy. Today saw the prosecution call Stanley's son to the stand. Next to testify, one of the people in the car with Bushy. With more, here's APTN's Chris Stewart.
The prosecution called Gerald Stanley's son Sheldon. He testified he and his father were repairing a fence. Sheldon heard a loud car approaching. A short time later, he heard the family quad start. He ran to the quad, thinking there was trouble. He saw a man on top of the pickup trying to move it. He yelled for him to stop. The man ran back into the car. The car was backing away when Sheldon hit the windshield with a hammer. Gerald kicked the taillight. The car turned around and left at high speed. Sheldon Stanley then said the car veered right and hit his mother's Ford Escape. 2 males left the car and fled the farm. Sheldon Stanley told the court he wanted to follow the car, so he went inside the house to get his truck keys. While inside, he heard 2 shots, a second apart. He saw his father walking by the driver's side. He looked back to his car. He then heard the 3rd shot. He went to his father. He testified his father said, "I don't know what happened. It just went off. I just wanted to scare them." His father had a handgun in one hand, a magazine in the other. He testified 2 girls pulled Colton Bushy's body from the car. They then attacked his mother, Lisa. He broke them up. The girls returned to the car. Sheldon called 911 and the family waited inside the house for the RCMP. He says no words were spoken. The prosecution then called Eric Meachance to the stand. He was in the car with Colton Bushy. He testified the 5 friends had been drinking and swimming. On the way home, they had a flat tire. Cassidy Cross was driving. Cross got out and climbed on top of a nearby truck with a quad. He heard swearing and Cross returned to the car. He backed out and the windshield was hit. They tried to leave, but it hit another Ford Escape. The radiator was leaking and Cross and Meachance fled the car. He testified he heard 2 shots followed by a 3rd, and that he continued to run. When Meachance was asked to look at a photo of Colton Bushy's body, he broke down sobbing. Prosecution and the defense both dismissed him as a witness. The trial will call more witnesses tomorrow. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Battleford, Saskatchewan.
And just like that, it's down. Where once stood a statue of Edward Cornwallis, founder of the city of Halifax, promoter of a fatal bounty on Mi'kmaq scalps, now sits an empty patch of park. The statue was taken down a day after City Council voted to immediately remove it and put it in storage, while councillors and the Mi'kmaq community collectively decides its future. Cornwallis founded the city of Halifax. He was a British military leader who issued bounties on Mi'kmaq scalps in 1749 and 1750. Rebecca Cope Moore is a descendant of former Mi'kmaq leader Jean-Baptiste Cope. He was one of the signatories to the 1752 Peace and Friendship Treaty.
I was here to witness that moment along with my sister and lots of community members, and when Cornwallis came down, an eagle flew right over all of us, and that's not common here in the city to see them too often. So, and for that eagle to come and fly right over us, just right the same moment as Cornwallis just got removed from his pedestal, was just it was very affirming to me, and yeah, it was just like, whoa.
They've been described as the 21st century version of residential schools, child welfare services, many of them run by provinces across the country. APTN's Tom Fenario now on how one Quebec First Nation has acted to change that.
For Atikamekw Nation Grand Chief Constant Awashish, this speech was 20 years in the making.
It's a big accomplishment. It's one step further to self-determination. That's how I see it.
This week, Awashish signed an agreement that allows 2 Atikamekw First Nations to take control over youth protection services. Lucie Charlebois, the Quebec Minister of Youth Protection, says the agreement is nothing short of historic.
Il m'apparaît important de souligner qu'il s'agit de la toute première nation autochtone à avoir entrepris des négociations dans ce sens au Québec.
In order to achieve this, the Atikamekw have been running youth protection programs in collaboration with Quebec since 2000. Awashish says they've proven time and time again that they're able to help their own at-risk youth. Now that they have total control, they want to make sure troubled youth are placed with Atikamekw foster families. 98% of Atikamekw speak Atikamekw as a first language, and Awashish says they want to keep it that way.
We want to protect our identity. We want to protect our culture. We want to use our language when we intervene with those youth in difficulties.
Jeffrey Kelly, Quebec Minister of Indigenous Affairs, says the Algonquin and Inuit are inspired by what the Atikamekw have accomplished.
Je pense notre entente aujourd'hui, beaucoup de monde veut le regarder. J'espère vont l'imiter, on va travailler ensemble.
Awashish says the next step is to tackle social issues, so that one day child welfare services are no longer needed. But until then, he's savoring this victory.
The youth are our futures, and we have to make sure that our future is well preserved, and they are the one who's going to carry on our culture, our language, and our way of thinking, our way of life.
Tom Fenario, APTN National News, Montreal.
If you'd like to share your thoughts about this or any other story you see on the broadcast, here is how to get in touch. Send an email to news@aptn.ca, like our APTN National News Facebook page, follow us on Twitter @APTN News, or go to our website, aptnnews.ca. Some Ottawa College students are planning to transform their campus. It's an effort to indigenize their space, one brush stroke at a time. Annette Francis explains.
These youth are putting some of their cultural teachings and creativity on paper.
The animals, they've seen her falling, so they came, and the turtle came, and she landed on the turtle's back.
They've come to the Mamadosawan Center at Algonquin College to put their ideas together to create a 25-foot mural. It will eventually be part of the college's new innovation and entrepreneurship center.
We're indigenizing the space to give representation and help showcase our Indigenous student population as the college. We can work together as one group and not trying to give different sections of the college. We want everybody to be part of the college system and learn about the Indigenous peoples, the Algonquin people, how to work with other students, staff, so they feel part of a whole community.
Over the next 2 days, renowned artist Shellac Attack and Bruno Smokey will be working with the students to come up with plans for the mural. 21-year-old Ashley Cardinal has a good grasp on what she'd like to see included.
The different medicines. Right now I just have strawberries, which I think are really important for ceremony. And then connecting here to the feathers, we're going to include water, because a lot of our stories now and a lot of what we're fighting for is for healthy water, and for water for our generations and to come, and for our children, and water's just a really important element now that we speak about, so we should definitely include that.
Artist Smokey says it's an honor to be a part of such a special project. He's learning from the students as well.
It's amazing, yeah. Sometimes as an artist, it's hard when you are working in so many projects that it kind of collapse to each other, the projects. So it's good to have fresh ideas, and especially like in this kind of First Nations images, like the whole stories behind everything. It's so important to know before you actually paint, So it's really important.
The mural will be unveiled during the opening of the new center this spring. Anna Francis, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Time for a story now from our colleagues at CTV Saskatchewan. They'll tell us about a new facility at the Quebec First Nation, southeast of Yorkton, helping to get children off to a head start.
There we go. There we go. Hey. A brand new building filled with toys, books, and learning materials. The Quebec Head Start Learning Center is an important place in the Star Blanket Cree Nation area, a place for kids to play and learn about their culture.
They come here and learn a lot of things and they play and they get to know one another. And they learn our language, our Cree language, and they build relationships.
Construction for the new Head Start building started late in 2016. Now, about a year and a half later, it's up and running right next door to the old daycare building, which had been used since the mid-90s. Chief Starr says the old building had been deteriorating, so the community started advocating for a new building. Over time, the government listened to the requests and contributed to the reality of a brand new building. FSIN Chief Bobby Cameron says it's vital that young kids in the community get a head start on their education in a facility like this.
Language and culture begin when our children are under one, and it continues up until adulthood. It's part of that language revitalization. This is one example.
Children aged 1 to 5 are able to take advantage of the Head Start Center. Starr says the new building offers a positive environment for those kids to learn.
I'm very proud that it's here in our community and for the growth of our young people.
With a relatively young population, it's expected that lots of kids will pass through the front doors of the Head Start Center. Stephanie Davis, CTV News, Star Blanket Cree Nation.
It's a messy commute across much of the Maritimes today after a winter storm buried parts of the region in up to 22 centimeters of snow. Poor weather conditions are forcing many schools in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia to close their doors. Early morning flights in and out of major airports are also facing delays or cancellations. Although cleanup crews are out in full force, it seems any kind of travel, whether by trains, planes, or automobiles, or even by foot for that matter, is a challenge. Time for a break. When we return, we'll learn about an award that recognizes innovation of benefit to Arctic regions. Please stay tuned. +2 in Halifax, snow and rain, -2 in clouds in St. John's. Kuujjuaq, cloudy, -24, Nain, cloudy, -19. Montreal, rain, 2. London, a cloudy 0. Ottawa, a cloudy 0. Kapuskasing, clouds, -17. Wawa, -15 in clouds. Sun across northern Manitoba. Barons River, cloudy, -21. Winnipeg, sunny, -19. Swift Current, clouds, -15, but some sun too. Stony Rapids, a sunny, -26. Meadow Lake, mostly cloudy, -20. And welcome back. Winners of a special prize aimed at Northern Inuit are set to be announced in Ottawa this week. Known as the Arctic Inspiration Prize, it awards winning teams up to $3 million. Kevin Kablutsiak is the executive director of the organization behind the prize. We spoke to him earlier this week. Mr. Kablutsiak, exactly what is the Arctic Inspiration Prize?
Great question. Arctic Inspiration Prize is an initiative that really encourages cooperation and team building between communities across the Arctic, from Yukon all the way to northern Labrador in Nunavut. It's about cooperation between the north and south, helping each other. But it really is about innovation and encouraging innovation to take place in creativity and finding new solutions and creating new opportunities amongst northerners in the Arctic so that they can help to improve lives in their communities.
So what kinds of projects have won awards in the past?
Well, since 2012, when it was first launched, there has been all kinds of different projects that have won, and they address a wide range of issues that are relevant and important to Inuit. So it could be dealing with climate change and how sea ice is harder to read when you're navigating on the ice. So Smart Ice won in 2016. One of the earlier winners was called the Miqut Project by the Nunavut Literacy Council, and it's really targeting or helping local Inuit in Rankin Inlet to embed literacy into their traditional ways, for example, sewing. So many people who have gone through that project have been able to increase their skills and get jobs or further their education. So different broad range of issues being dealt with by these winning projects.
So how many projects are up for the prize this year, and can you give us a sense of the range?
Yes, absolutely. So this year we have a new prize model as well, which is new. We have 3 new categories. For the first time, we have a youth category that will be going to youth teams, and they can win up to $100,000. The second category is up to $500,000, and the third category is $1 million, which will be going to one team.
Wow.
Whereas in the past it was always shared, could be shared between 1 and 5 different teams. So starting this year, it's going to one team. And so we have 10 shortlisted projects that were forwarded to the National Selection Committee by the 3 new regional selection committees, Yukon, the Dene area of NWT, and Inuit Nunangat. All had been looking at nominations that were coming from their regions. So the ones that they forwarded to the National Selection Committee were shortlisted. And of course, all of those different projects deal with different types of issues as well that are important to Northerners. Could be hockey, could be traditional knowledge. For example, there's a kayak program that wants to teach their youth in Chesterfield Inlet about the types of kayaks that were built hundreds of years earlier that are no longer used. There's also other programs that deal with social issues, homelessness in Yellowknife, suicide in Nunavik, so different things.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and please pass on our regards to all the candidates. Best of luck. Take care.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Well, with sports fans all over the world gearing up for the 2018 Winter Olympics, APTN in Focus spent this afternoon discussing Indigenous people in sport. Tara Garrick, sister to women's hockey player Bridget Laquette, told APTN's Bruce Spence about her experience tending goal for the University of Manitoba.
Do you think that it was difficult balancing sports and classes and exams and lectures and all that academic pressure, balancing that with your time on the ice?
Yes, it was. For the most part, it was trying to get to class in the mornings after you're dead tired. We'd have an early morning ice session on one day during the week, so we'd go on at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then have an 8:30 lecture. So we'd have lectures all morning, and then the afternoons would be either working out and then going to hockey practice for a couple hours, or going to hockey practice for a couple hours and then working out after that. And then having maybe 2 or 3 hours to study, and then having 8 hours of sleep the next night. So it was very difficult.
It gives youth an opportunity to take their games to a higher stage, right? To get that feel of the bright lights and the larger venues and things like that, because your challenge, I guess, as a coach is to say that it's the same game once the puck drops, or once the ball is tipped, or whatever the case may be. But as a player, it gives them an opportunity, because simply by percentages, a lot of the athletes, participants, that'll be as far as they go. So you got in terms of development of Indigenous youth, we have to give them those opportunities to say I went to an Indigenous Games and things of this nature, because it's going to be something that they'll remember for the rest of their lives.
Trevor?
Yeah, I think some of the points that Philippa brought up are spot on. The elevated action of play is one of the things that you have to take into consideration. The level of skill is a massive jump when you start dealing with NCAA skilled level players. And I remember in my youth, we went down to Great Falls, Montana to play a bunch of Division I schools in baseball, and we got no hit in 3 out of 4 games. So when you start to elevate your skill level, you start to see where you are measured in terms of all things, all capacities, training, competition level, resiliency, all these really important factors. The North American Indigenous Games is one of those special circumstances where you get to represent your nation, and I personally love that opportunity. I never got the chance to compete myself, but for those that I know who did, they absolutely loved it.
And you can catch a repeat of that edition of In Focus tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central, 10 Eastern. Time for another break. When we come back, we'll hear about some Aboriginal artisans hoping to revive a world-renowned art form. Stay with us. A cloudy -21 in Peace River, Fort Chipewyan -24, mostly cloudy. Calgary -14, mix of sun and cloud. Edmonton mostly cloudy -17. Campbell River 4, some rain. Quesnel mostly cloudy -2. Dease Lake -18, a mix of sun and cloud. Fort St. John -24, mostly cloudy. Old Crow, mix of sun and cloud, -29. Yellowknife, a sunny -28. Norman Wells, the same. Colville Lake -26 and sun. Sax Harbor -28 and a mix of sun and cloud. Baker Lake, sunny -32. Arviat -31 and sun. Clyde River -29 and sun. Glulik -34 and also sunny. And welcome back. Well, you've probably heard of dogs, cats, even bunnies brought aboard flights as emotional support animals. Well, get a load of this.
I'm not kidding. This woman is wrangling her peacock into the airport. Right now, wrangling a peacock in the airport.
Ticket for her bird Dexter to go with her on a flight from Newark to Los Angeles, but United Airlines wasn't having it, saying the peacock could not take to the skies due to health and safety concerns. They added the customer had been warned about the restrictions 3 times before she arrived at the airport. Instead, Dexter and his owner will now hit the road for a cross-country journey by car. That's right. And as you were getting ready for work or school this morning, you may have missed a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So we thought we'd bring you a little sample of this morning's super blue blood moon. And while the name might be a little hard to wrap your head around, the images are nonetheless stunning. That's it for our newscast tonight. We're going to be doing it all again tomorrow. If you'd like news 24/7, be sure to check out our website, aptnnews.ca, for all the latest stories making news in Indian country. And that's it for me. Take care, everyone. We'll see you again soon.